The sun was sinking low over the dry Texas horizon, painting the sky in a firestorm of gold and crimson as dust rolled across the open land like whispers of forgotten dreams. At the edge of the valley stood the Whitmore Ranch, a place both feared and admired, where for months men had come from miles around to do what no one else could ride. The widow's black stallion, a wild beast named Midnight. Every man who tried left limping, bruised, or broken in pride. 25 cowboys had fallen short, and yet the stallion still waited, untamed. Then came Cole Maddox, a quiet drifter with eyes that carried storms of their own. A man who didn't boast or brag, whose worn clothes and dusty boots spoke of long roads and lonely nights. They said he'd lost everything once: a home, a family, and a reason to stay put. Now all he had left was a will that refused to break. When Cole rode up to the ranch gates, the widow herself was waiting. Clara Whitmore, tall and proud, dressed in black with eyes sharp enough to slice through a man's pride, was a woman whose husband had died trying to tame Midnight. She had sworn no man would ever conquer that horse unless he was made of real courage, not hollow words. "So you're another fool wanting to prove he's a man," she said, her voice steady yet tinged with sorrow. Cole tipped his hat. "Ma'am, I ain't here to prove I'm a man. Just need a job and maybe a reason to stay." Her gaze didn't soften. "If you're a real cowboy, prove it. Ride my stallion. 25 men failed. You'll be the 26th. Cole smiled faintly. "Maybe, but sometimes it only takes one who ain't afraid to listen before he rides." The wind stirred, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Cole walked toward the corral where Midnight waited, black as thunderclouds, eyes fierce and untamed. Every hoofstep echoed like a heartbeat. Men whispered from the sidelines, betting how long he'd last. But Cole wasn't watching them. He was reading the horse, every breath, every flick of its tail. "Easy, boy," he murmured softly, his voice calm as a river before dawn. "I ain't here to break you, just to understand you." Something in that tone made Midnight pause. The stallion's muscles tightened, but his eyes flickered with a strange calm. Clara watched from the fence, her heart torn between disbelief and the ghost of hope she had buried long ago. Maybe this cowboy wasn't like the others. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit subscribe, because the next part will reveal what happens when the stallion and the man finally face each other in the dust and fire of destiny. The crowd around the corral held its breath as Cole stepped closer to Midnight, the black stallion shifting restlessly, hooves striking dust into the air like thunder. The afternoon light turned golden, glinting off the animal's mane, wild and beautiful as the wind itself. Clara Whitmore's eyes narrowed. She had seen many men stand where he stood, their confidence crumbling in seconds. But something about this quiet cowboy was different. He moved slowly, not with the swagger of a show-off, but with the patience of someone who knew pain and had learned to respect it. Cole reached out his hand, palm open, letting the stallion smell the truth of his intent. Midnight snorted, head tossing high, yet didn't retreat. "That's it, boy," Cole whispered. "You're just scared someone'll hurt you." Again, the words seemed to hang in the air, almost human in understanding. For a moment, the wild horse stood still. Cole swung one leg over the saddle in a single, fluid motion. Gasps rippled through the crowd. No one had ever gotten that far without being thrown. The stallion tensed, trembling like lightning about to strike. Then, with a scream that echoed across the ranch, Midnight reared up, his hooves slicing the air. Dust exploded around them as Cole held on, his body bending with the movement, his grip firm yet gentle. Clara's hand gripped the fence post. Her heart pounded louder than the crowd's shouts. Every muscle in the cowboy's body fought to stay in rhythm with the beast's fury. 10 seconds, 15, 30. Midnight bucked again, harder, desperate to throw the man who dared to understand him. Cole didn't fight back. He rode with him, not against him. It was like watching a storm tamed by the whisper of the earth itself. Slowly, impossibly, the stallion began to slow. His breathing grew heavy. Sweat glistened under the sun. The noise faded until all that remained was the sound of hooves softening into calm steps. Cole slid down from the saddle and placed his forehead against the horse's. "Told you," he said quietly. "I ain't here to break you." The crowd erupted in disbelief. Men shouting, women cheering, and a few shaking their heads as if they'd seen a miracle. Clara stood motionless, eyes shining with a mix of wonder and old sorrow. She walked toward him slowly, her voice trembling for the first time in years. "No one ever made him listen," she said softly. "You did." Cole looked at her, dust on his face, a quiet strength in his eyes. "Sometimes," he answered. "You just have to earn their trust before you ask for their loyalty." For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind brushed past them, carrying away years of pain and pride. Somewhere inside her, Clara felt something stir, a heartbeat she thought she had buried with her husband. Maybe this man wasn't just another cowboy passing through. Maybe fate had finally sent her someone who could understand more than just horses. That evening, the ranch settled into a soft silence broken only by the crackle of lanterns and the distant howl of coyotes. The crowd had long gone, leaving only dust and disbelief behind. Cole sat by the old fence, his hat tipped low, staring at the stallion grazing calmly nearby. Midnight had become a different creature, still wild in spirit, but no longer angry. Clara watched from the porch, her arms crossed, heart tangled in confusion. She had seen courage before, but not kindness like his. Every man who'd tried before had wanted glory, not understanding. Cole had wanted neither. He simply wanted peace. The faint glow of dusk painted his features in gold, and for the first time in years, Clara felt the ache of something she hadn't dared to feel: hope. She stepped down from the porch, her boots crunching softly on the dirt. "You did what no one else could," she said quietly, standing beside him. Cole didn't look up. "Wasn't the horse that needed taming," he said. "Sometimes it's the silence between us that needs to learn how to trust." Again, his words struck deeper than he knew. Clara had built walls around her heart after losing her husband, and no one had ever dared to speak to her like that, honest, gentle, unafraid. "You talk like a preacher," she said with a faint smile. Cole chuckled low. "No, ma'am, just a man who's seen too many fences built where freedom should have been." The air between them felt lighter, the tension slowly melting into understanding. The horse nickered softly, brushing its nose against Cole's shoulder as if claiming him. "He likes you," Clara whispered. "That horse never liked anyone." Cole glanced at her then, his blue eyes catching the lantern light. "Maybe he's just tired of being alone," he said softly. She swallowed hard, unable to look away. For a moment, it wasn't about the stallion or the challenge anymore. It was about two broken souls, standing under the same wounded sky. The moon rose above the ranch, silver and calm, wrapping everything in a gentle stillness. "You can stay the night," Clara said, her voice quieter now. "You've earned it." Cole nodded once. "Thank you, ma'am, but I ain't sure where I belong yet." She hesitated before turning away. "Maybe that's what you're supposed to find." Here, her words lingered as she walked back toward the house, and Cole watched her go, the glow of her lantern fading like a promise half-kept. Midnight grazed nearby, calm and trusting, and for the first time in years, Cole felt something shift inside him. Maybe fate hadn't brought him here for a horse at all. Maybe it was for a heart that needed mending as much as his own. The dawn came quietly, painting the Whitmore ranch in pale gold and soft wines. Cole was already awake, standing by the fence with midnight beside him, the two of them looking like old friends sharing unspoken thoughts. The night had been long and sleepless, filled with memories that had followed him like ghosts, faces he couldn't forget, losses he couldn't undo. Yet something about this land, this woman, and this wild horse had settled a storm inside him. From the porch, Clara watched him, her heart unsteady. For the first time since her husband's death, she didn't feel like a widow bound by grief. She felt like a woman alive again. She walked toward him, her black coat fluttering softly in the morning wind. "You're leaving, aren't you?" she said, her voice low, but she already knew the answer. Cole turned, his eyes warm yet distant. "Ain't much holding a drifter, ma'am, but some things don't need to be held to be remembered." He paused, then added, "You and that horse, you both taught me something I'd forgotten. Sometimes what's wild ain't meant to be tamed, just understood." Clara's throat tightened. She wanted to stop him, to ask him to stay, but pride and pain warred inside her. Midnight neighed suddenly, stepping closer to Cole as if refusing to let him go. Cole smiled faintly and patted the stallion's neck. "You be good, boy." You found your peace. The air was still, the sky glowing brighter with each breath of sunrise. You could stay, Clara finally whispered. Not for me, for yourself. Cole met her eyes, and for a long moment, the world seemed to hold still. If I stay, it won't be for the job, he said quietly. It'd be because I finally found someone who understands what loss feels like and what courage really means. Clara stepped closer, her voice trembling. Then maybe you've already proved you're a real cowboy. A small, rare smile touched his lips. Maybe, ma'am, but maybe being real ain't about proving, it's about healing. The wine brushed between them, carrying the scent of dust, grass, and something softer, hope. He started to walk toward his horse, but Clara's voice stopped him once more. Cole, she called, if you ever come back, this ranch will still be here, and so will I. He tipped his hat, eyes glinting beneath the brim. I reckon that's all a man could ever hope for. With that, he mounted his horse and rode off toward the horizon, the sun at his back, the widow watching until he disappeared into the light. Midnight neighed once, as if saying goodbye to both of them. Clara stood there long after, a tear slipping down her cheek, but it wasn't sorrow this time. It was peace. She smiled softly. Somewhere out there, a lonely cowboy had finally found his road home.